So the general idea for this project grew out of something that I'd already trialled and experimented with a couple of years before when I undertook a collaborative project with final year students. So it was something I wanted repeated to develop the lessons I'd learned from that project. The specific idea for the survey of MPs came to me as I was driving down the M40 late one Sunday evening coming back to Egham, and I was listening to Westminster Hour, might have been the Westminster Hour, and it just suddenly occurred to me that some surveys that had been conducted of academics, no one had ever bothered to ask MPs who they thought was the most successful Prime Minister. And as I was driving, the nature of the project in terms of how I could involve students, I was just thinking about it, probably not concentrating on the road so much. But it just occurred to me that it had all the ingredients for a really good collaborative project. It would give me the chance to involve lots of students, it would give them the chance to see primary research, and also it's the kind of project, who is a successful Prime Minister, what makes for a successful Prime Minister, that's also just a little bit accessible, a little bit sexy, and is the kind of thing I think that students can be really engaged with. So I set this project up in such a way to involve as many students as possible. The thing, so how did I involve them? Well, firstly, we spent a week right at the beginning of the term looking at previous studies, previous surveys of how successful our Prime Ministers, mainly done to academics, so they would already in the classroom get a sense of what the methodology was. In terms of the practice of the survey, I involved them in a number of ways. Firstly, I involved them in the actual questionnaire design. We were constrained very much by the fact that they had to be on two sides of A4 by the questions that we could include. We were also constrained by the fact that we were repeating a question. The whole survey rested on repeating a question that had been asked in another context. But within those limits, I involved them in choosing which other questions could be included. We discussed it, we spent 15-20 minutes at the beginning of each subsequent class discussing the project as a whole, developing the questionnaire, sending out the draft questionnaire for them to comment on, look for typos and so on. So I involved them in that way. They were also involved in, most importantly, the logistics of the survey. So every student was involved in, unfortunately, stuffing envelopes with the survey with prepaid envelope for them to return. I also involved the students, though, in this stage, by getting them to write covering letters to MPs. One of the big problems we were going to confront in any survey of members of Parliament was getting a good response rate. We did this partly by having a short questionnaire. The other way we did it was by getting two undergraduate students from the class, to write each covering letter. So each pair of students was asked to write, I think it was about print off 60, 70 letters in effect, that were done through mail merges and then sign them. They had to write the letter themselves, and by getting two students to sign it, we just thought it'd be much harder for MPs to say no, because you can't say no to two young voters. So the students were also involved at that stage. Then later on, once the postal questionnaire started coming back in, this was the other way I really wanted to involve students and get them to see how research works. All of them were involved in coding up the questionnaire responses. So when the questionnaires completed came in, they then had to take it and using a pre-worked out coding formula framework, they then had to convert the various responses into numbers. So every student was responsible for coding up, I think in effect, it was about 15 or so questionnaires each. Then every student was also responsible for checking another 15 students. This way we ensured that the coding of the questionnaire responses was absolutely accurate and valid. So the students were also involved then. Then later on in the year, once the results were in and we calculated, sort of presented the overhead, the general findings, we had set aside a session in one of the classes to actually discuss them. So the students could then contribute ideas about what we'd actually found. In addition to that, all the students were also involved in presenting the whole project to the department. So we have a weekly research seminar series. And for the very last one of the year, partly for a bit of fun, but also because it was original research, the students themselves were absolutely responsible for presenting the project and the findings to the department as a whole. And I think they probably gave the best presentation of the whole year. It was certainly the most interesting. They really enjoyed that, and they all took responsibility for presenting different component parts of the project and also answering questions. Absolutely, this was the second class project, collaborative class project that I've undertaken with final year students. It is hard work, but it's such a rewarding experience. It's so rewarding to get people involved, young people involved in research. It helps to bring it to life, to the class to life to them. It helps to bring it to life to me to some extent, because it's an opportunity to really mix research and teaching. And yes, absolutely, it's definitely the kind of thing that I will continue to do.